Chapter 6, Mishnah 6. Earthenware poses two unique features. Firstly, unlike other materials, tamei earthenware items cannot be made tahor through immersion. Secondly, unlike other tamei articles, earthenware can transmit tuma to things without actually touching them. When foods and liquids enter the airspace of an earthenware vessel, they become tamei even if they do not touch the walls of the vessel. This is true, however, specifically of foods and liquids, but not of people and utensils. People and utensils can never become tamei from earthenware, even if they actually touch it. It is possible to immerse utensils inside a tamei vessel that is situated in a mikveh, provided there is a valid connection between the water and the vessel and the water in the mikveh. See above Mishnah 2. Our Mishnah deals with immersing utensils inside a tamei earthenware vessel that is itself in a mikveh. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. If a tamei broken earthenware vessel is in a mikveh and someone immersed utensils in it, they become tahor from their original tuma, but they become tamei with a new tuma on account of having been in the airspace of a tamei earthenware vessel. The Mishnah refers to where the earthenware vessel is partially submerged in the mikveh, with only the peaks of its jagged, broken edge jutting above the water. The water in the vessel is connected to the rest of the mikveh via the gaps in its edge, which extend below the water level. The water in the vessel is thus considered one entity with the mikveh. The water is not tamei on account of its being contained in a tamei vessel, because it is part of a mikveh, and mikveh water is immune to tuma. Since the water in the vessel is part of the mikveh, the utensils that are immersed in it become tahor from whatever tuma they had previously. However, as the utensils are being lifted out of the mikveh, they pass between the peaks of the broken vessel's edge that protrude from the water. Since there are certainly drops of water clinging to the utensils, those drops become tamei due to being in the airspace of the broken vessel. Those drops in turn then make the utensils they are clinging to tamei. Until this point, the Mishnah has been discussing a case in which the earthenware vessel juts out of the water. The Mishnah now teaches the law for a case in which the earthenware vessel is totally submerged in the mikveh. If the water flowed on top of the earthenware vessel even just a little bit, the utensils are tahor. That is, if the water level is higher than the protrusions at the top of the broken vessel, in which case the utensils were not contained within the airspace of the broken vessel after they were lifted out of the water, they become completely tahor through their immersion. Ordinarily, when a person becomes tamei, his whole body is tamei. However, the rabbis declared that a person's hands can become tamei even if the rest of his body is tahor. To rid his hands of this tuma, he must either pour water on them from a vessel, or else immerse them in a mikveh. Now, although a person's body can become tamei only from an ava tuma, the rabbis decreed that his hands can become tamei even from secondary tuma. Therefore, if someone inserts his hands into the airspace of a tamei earthenware vessel, they'll contract tuma from the vessel, even though a vessel can possess only a secondary level of tuma. The Mishnah discusses instances where immersion inside of a tamei earthenware vessel can simultaneously make a person's body tahor and his hands tamei. Consider a case in which a spring issued forth from the ground into the interior of an oven, and someone went down and immersed in it. If a tamei person climbed down into the oven and immersed himself in the spring, he, i.e. his body, is tahor, but his hands are tamei. His body is tahor because a person does not become tamei from the airspace of an earthenware vessel. His hands, however, are tamei because the rabbis decreed that his hands become tamei from the airspace of an earthenware vessel. However, if there was water flowing above the oven as much as the height of his hands, i.e. if the oven was located in a pit, and the water issuing forth from the spring filled the pit and covered the oven, and the level of the water was higher than the top of the oven by at least as much as the height of the person's hands, then even his hands are tahor. This is because when he climbed out of the oven, his hands pressed through the water that flowed on top of the oven. The hands thus underwent a valid immersion. Thus, although they became tamei when they were within the oven's airspace, they become tahor again by their immersion outside of the oven's airspace.